Hi, welcome. Today we're going to be making a Chain Chomp from Super Mario Brothers. So here's a 3D rotation of what you'll be making today. And you're going to have a lot of fun making this chain, trust me. So I have my reference image. I'm going to bring in a sphere, and we're going to tap on the 3 dots up here, and we're going to increase the parameter to 7, and then we'll hit validate. Here I'm realizing that I got to fish this out of my lights folder, and I'm just going to drag that out. We're going to switch to the material tab, and we're going to hit blending, and then this will allow me to lower the opacity so I can see through my model. I'm going to clone this sphere and shrink it down. And I just need to create an interior sphere so we can Boolean these. I'm going to clone this shape for later. So I'm going to Boolean these 2 spheres, and this will create a hollow sphere. And now what I'm going to need is a cube, because we're going to angle this and create the mouth opening for our character. So all you have to do is bring in a cube. I'm going to switch to my gizmo tool. I'm going to set it to 45. So I clicked on that. That's where you can punch in 45. I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees. I'll switch it to the front camera view, and I'll turn on my grid. And then you want to hit align so it switches to world view. You just want to align the left edge to the green and red axis lines. And now I can unhide our other objects here. And you can see if I Boolean these 2 shapes together, it'll create an opening. So here I am. So if you don't know, I'm also cloning the box for later because I need that. So if you don't know how to Boolean, you just need to hide the visibility of one of the layers and then check both boxes and then hit Boolean. So here we have this Pac-Man shape, and you can see it's hollowed out in the middle. So I need to repeat this process. So before I do that, I'm gonna color pick my reference image, and then I'm just finding a color, and I'm gonna mess with the metalness. So I'm just hunting for the right value for this. I want it to be reflective and metal feeling, but also be subdued. I don't want it to be too chrome-like. So I'll turn on my interior sphere that I was saving. This is also in blend mode. So I clone that. I'm going to make another interior sphere. And I need this one to be very thin when I Boolean these. So here I Boolean these. So that's another hollow sphere. And the box that I saved, I'm going to turn on, and I'll just Boolean these. So that's why I saved an extra box, because I needed to repeat that shape exactly. So now we'll be able to paint the interior. There are many ways you can go about this. You could mask your single outer sphere and just paint the inside. I just chose to do like a really simple hack to paint the inside. So now we just need to bring in a sphere because we're going to start working on the eye. So I'll hit the 3 dots here as well and increase the parameter to 7 again, and then we're going to hit validate. I'm going to shrink this and try to match it to around the eye size, what I think looking at the reference image. I'm dragging it up, and I'm going to use the green dot to squash this, and then I'll just place it on top of the surface of our outer sphere. I'm going to solo this and switch to grid, and I'm going to hit the pivot button on the left here, and then I'm just going to drag our pivot point, and I'm going to zoom in so I can make it really accurate. I just need it to be right on the red line. And then you can hit pivot again to turn it off. And now we've got our pivot point directly in the center of our sphere. I'll unhide everything. And now when we rotate this, it'll move along the surface of our blue sphere here. I have snap on, I'll turn that off. So here it seems like it's sticking right to it. That's exactly what we wanted. So no matter where I rotate this, it'll always be perfectly in line. I'm going to clone this because I want to do the pupil, and then I'm going to clone it a third time, or a second time, sorry, and that'll be the highlight within the pupil as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just color the pupil now. So I'm going to use this trick where I switch to the gizmo tool, and then I turn on local, so you'll see it switch to local. And then I'm going to grab the green dot and stretch it outward, and then I'm going to use the outer scaling ring to bring it back down. So this will help me scale and then replace it back right on top of the pupil. So now I can hit pivot, hit center, and that'll recenter it, turn off pivot, and now I can use the green dot to flatten this. So I'm zooming in so I can do the flattening, and you can still reposition. So I'm repositioning, I'll flatten some more. If you missed that, we're going to do that again for the highlight for the pupil. So here we go. We're going to use the green dot to stretch it out, and then we're going to use the outer ring to scale it back down. I'm going to do this a couple times just to find the right scale. It's going to really stretch out like an egg, but when we use our pivot point and center, that's when we can go back and flatten it out. So here I think it's good. I'm going to reposition it. It seems sort of like up in the left corner. So now I'm going to hit pivot, center, turn off pivot, and now I can use the green dot to squash it. And then I'll just move it into place. Yeah, and there we go. We have an eye. I'm going to group all these. I'm going to select all the parts of the eye. You can watch me struggle to figure out. I'm having a real hard time figuring out what's what. So I even move things to make sure. So I'm going to join these. Now they're one. And I was going to go ahead and just mirror these, but then I also realized it's side view. So I need to grab everything and I'm going to rotate all the parts. I'm going to turn on snap and then just rotate us forward so that symmetry happens perfectly down the front of our face. So I open the symmetry menu and now I'm just going to go down and hit left to right under the mirroring section. And now we have two eyes. So our character, all that remains for the face of our character is adding teeth. So I'm adding a cylinder and I'm just scaling it down on the Y. And then I'm going to increase the resolution here as well. So I'm going to scale it slightly inward and then we'll just increase the topology of this. Increasing the topology here just to smooth it out. We'll punch out the hole. And there's some controls for this that lets you increase the outer and interior. So I'm just playing with those two controls to figure out how thin I want these and roughly where the placement is. I need to increase the height just a little bit. I'll go to my gizmo, increase it a little bit, and then we can clone this. I'm going to need a top set of teeth and a bottom set. I hit solo. And I'm going to need to validate this, so I did that quickly. We're going to use the trim tool, and I'm going to select Polygon on the left side. To do this, you just need to click and drag. So I got the grid on. Just click and drag, and then without clicking on a dot, click close to your second dot and drag out, and that will close your loop. And now I'm just tapping on each of the dots to make them sharp. So they're going to start out as curves. You can just tap on them, and they will turn sharp. So this is the bottom row of teeth. I have symmetry on, so no matter what happens, it'll be perfectly symmetrical. To punch out, you just need to hit this green dot here. And it's sort of like it's like a cookie cutter. So you can see it punches out that shape. I'm realizing that I don't need a full cylinder. I'm going to go into my trim tool and use the rectangle, and I'm just going to trim off the top part of this. I'm just trying to level the teeth here, and then I'm going to continue again with the polygon tool. Same process. So I'll turn on, I don't know if I turn on my grid, but you can just click and drag. And then close to your second dot, click and drag. So close to the blue dot, click and drag, and it'll close it. Going around, clicking in to make them sharp. And just aligning the left one to meet the peak of the first tooth. And then I just realized here that, like, why don't I just make all the teeth? My angle's sort of centered enough that I can add enough teeth and not worry about doing one at a time. So all you have to do is click on the line and it'll just continue to add points. And if you need to delete a point, just drag one point over another point and they'll merge. And like I said, when you're ready, you just hit the green dot, it'll punch. Symmetry's on, so it happens on both sides. Bottom teeth are done. I'll unhide everything, and now I'll turn on my gizmo tool. We're already set to snap to 45 degrees, so I'll just turn that one time, and then I'll just move it so that the valleys of our teeth are above the gum line. I'm switching to this view just to align along the gum line, and we're good to go. Next, I'll unhide the top teeth and we'll repeat the process. Yeah, I almost never do this. I know you all are watching, and I'm doing my best to pretend that this is, that I'm always naming layers, but that is not the truth. So I need to trim the top off of this one as well. Just going to do that before we get started. Again, I'll need to snap to the front. We're going to be doing the top set of teeth. So this time we're going to have a triangle going upward. So I'll click and drag towards the top green line, or scratch that, and then click near the blue dot and move again. Yeah, the way that you draw this in is a little funny. You'll get used to it. So I mentioned it's like a cookie cutter. So when you press the green dot and it punches, the nice thing is, good job on you, Nomad, is that it doesn't erase your shape. If you want to erase your shape, over on the left where you have polygon selected, there's a trash icon, and you can click that and it'll get rid of it'll clear your mask. So here I can just keep punching. I can keep rotating my model. So I punched there. Symmetry's on. I move it over again. It's still, still working as a cookie cutter. Looking at my reference image, I know that I got to make a smaller tooth that's angled. It's not a perfect triangle. It's kind of angled weird. I'm just kind of making it up that whatever looks good. I'm not trying to be spot on, even though I sort of am. Just trying to level out my teeth before I make this cut. And now the top teeth are done. I just need to turn everything back on. I'll turn off my grid, unhide everything, do the same thing. I'll snap to the side view. We'll do a rotation of this, pull it out, just set it right on top of the gums. We'll show the other teeth. We'll unhide those as well. And I know this is not, it's not going to be correct. If he had to close his teeth, those teeth are not aligning. I do know that. But, I'm not animating, so it's totally fine as a pose. And really, if we're looking at the reference image, I don't think his teeth are going to close that well either. So we're going with it. So the head's done. I need to create this anchor shape in the back. So I'm bringing in a cylinder. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. I'll scale it down and then switch to perspective and just drag it out. This is an invalidated object. So there's two sets of controls. You can have the gizmo, or if you turn off the gizmo, you'll have these controls where you can adjust either side. So I clicked radius twice, and that will give me the ability to control the radius of the top and the bottom. So I'm tapering the top, and then I'm going to just smooth it. So you'll notice throughout this tutorial, we're not going to use the smooth tool, and we're not going to do anything by hand, because we can control the smoothness before we validate. So I smoothed everything out. I hit validate. I think here we're going to just start to do a little bit of painting. So we're going to bring in that gray and we're going to crank up the metalness, and I smooth it out. It's feeling a little bit aluminum here. The more left you go, the more it feels like steel. If you go all the way left, it's like a very polished chrome. So I'm satisfied for now with that. And then we're going to have to bring in a torus here, and we're going to start the chain link. So here's a torus, a very big torus, and I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to drag it over. We'll scale it down. Move it over, scale it more. So there's 3 controls to this torus. You'll have to go into perspective to see. So there's a red, orange, and if you go into perspective, you'll see this green. This controls the thickness. This will be our chain link. Trying to decide what I think a good ratio is here. I'm trying to use this grid to find a center line here. So I'm just moving it because I'm going to switch to my mask tool, my cell mask. I'm also increasing the smoothness. I'm going to switch to my cell mask and use the rectangle to mask half of this torus. And this will pin that. So that won't move. That can't move anymore. So if I switch to my gizmo and just use my drag, I can stretch out my shape without distorting the curve. So now I've got a chain link, and all I have to do is clear my mask. I'm going to re-voxel mesh this because I stretched a bunch of pixels, and I don't want that when I paint. I'm going to move this to be embedded in the anchor. That's on the back side of our character's head. So I'll just move it. Accidentally turn on the mask here. Yeah, I'll drag it and make it feel like it's sort of welded. Looking at the reference, I realize I need to rotate that 90 degrees. It would have been fine without that. I'm just trying to be a professional here for you guys. So I think that's good enough. What I'll do is I'm going to clone this chain link, and we're going to create the start of our chain. So this next one I'll drag out and rotate 90 degrees as well to sort of be offset. Wow, I'm really trying to impress with all my name. Like, this does not happen on average. It's the 4th video, you know, I'm going all out. Okay, so I'm rotating this 90 degrees. I didn't nail it. Okay, so we'll do that again. And this will be the start of our Poseable chain link. And this is where the fun happens. I'm applying the metal texture, metal paint, and deciding right now it's just too smooth out. It's too aluminum. So I'm going to reduce the roughness and get it more into a steel, feeling like steel. And then I'm just going to apply that to everything. So what I'm going to do is in a second here, I'm going to go hit the add button. And then you'll see some red text when I open the add menu. And there's going to be a repeater section, and you're going to want to hit curve. So add, hit curve. And now you've created a curve that has a starting point and an end point. I just need to drag one of them out. So you'll see me drag it. Doesn't really matter where you drag it at this point. So I'm going to go to the top view and align it. Do a better job. So I'm just aligning it close enough to my anchor. So, and now you need to select the chain object, not the curve, and rotate it. And I'm just repositioning it so it feels like it's connected to the anchor. Switch back to the curve. Select the red text curve. And here I can determine how long I want my chain to be. And here's the fun part. You can increase the count in the settings above, and you add a bunch of links. So tap the twist twice, and now you can use the pink controls to twirl your chain, twist your chain. And this is where it adds the randomness, and it feels like each chain is offset. So you don't want the chain to be perfectly offset, 90 degrees. So you can twist it a bunch of times. And now I'm clicking on the curve and adding additional points. And this is where you can add a really dynamic look, make it starts to feel more realistic. I also realized that I need to add an extra point near where the connector is to make it sort of point right at the anchor. And you'll notice the chains start to become disconnected. There's not enough. So you can increase the count. You just add more chain links till it works. And since we have B spline on, if you turn B spline off, you'll see just if you try it, you'll see the difference. But I like B spline because it's the smoothest curve you can have. You know, I'm trying to do a little bit of storytelling here. I had this idea to select the last chain link, and I'm gonna make a clone of it, and I'm gonna drag it outside of the repeater because I don't want it repeating. And then I'm just gonna hand move it. I'm gonna manually move it and manually rotate it. And what I'm gonna do is just create a broken chain link at the end here, just to add a little storytelling. Like nothing can stop this chomp. He's too powerful. So I'm going to switch to my split tool, which is just like the trim tool, except nothing gets deleted. It just gets moved to another layer. So I'm going to have the lasso tool. And all I have to do is just manually draw around parts of this. And I'll open the menu and hide it just so you can see where it is. So it's moved to a new layer. I've cut another piece, and now we have 3 pieces of this chain. I'm going to use the gizmo tool to just float them around like we paused at the very moment the chain shattered. And now I'm just creating some random positions to sell the effect. And right here, I'm gonna let you know that you can stop watching this video at this point. I mean, that's terrible YouTube etiquette, but I spend the next like 4 minutes of this video just trying to make this chain look cooler. I start adding more points and bending and curve. And so if you're willing to watch it, more power to you. I'm just going to warn you right now. A lot of the remainder of this video is me noodling. Barring that, the only other thing I did was I selected everything for the head and I increased the chomp himself. I felt like the chain was probably too heavy duty for how small the chomp was. So I ended up increasing the chomp size. This is a lot of fun though. Like, I hope you were following along. I hope you're at this point. I know that it went pretty fast and you might be pausing the video to sort of see exactly what I clicked on. But when you do get to this point, I kind of hope you spend as much time noodling as I did, because this effect is so cool. It can be like if you needed a hair braid and you could figure out how to create that initial braid shape that can be repeatable, which I may try to do at some point. Yeah, this is really fun. There's a ton of uses for repeaters, especially along a curve. You know, you can definitely, easy ones are chains, like pearl necklaces and things like that. Love to figure out as many uses for this thing as I can. Chain is clearly the coolest use of it. So, apologies that I'm just fussing. This is like, it's like you saw the movie. These are all like the behind the scenes footage that you stuck around for. I ended up twisting the chain as well some more. I feel like it's starting to feel a little too perfect. I clearly don't have any goals of growing this channel by making this type of content at the end here. So I switched. Here's where I'm going to just scale this is literally the last thing. So if you stuck around, thank you. I'm selecting all the head parts and I'm going to scale it, and then we'll be done. So scaling, readjusting, and that feels the ratio feels better. Doing a little victory lap here. I hope you had a lot of fun. This chain thing I'm pretty addicted to. You might only see things that have chains in it from this point forward. Apologies right now, ahead of time. Yeah, thank you for watching. Keep modeling, and I'll see you next time.